Welcome to Inside Missions, a production of Maranatha Volunteers International, offering an in-depth look at the people, the cultures, and the countries where Maranatha is working. Today we're here, this is a field episode, a special field episode of Inside Missions, and I'm here in Zambia with our country manager, Luke Johnson. Luke, welcome to Inside Missions.
Thank you so much.
So Luke and I and our videographer have been going across Zambia. We've been visiting different schools. We were here with a volunteer group at the Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church where we're building a clinic. So we've been spending a lot of time together. And Luke, we wanted to be able to just get to know you a little bit better and kind of learn about some of the journeys that you've had through your life that led you to Maranatha and some of the things that you've experienced while working for Maranatha. So why don't we start off just by finding out where you're from. Where are you from? Have you always been a Seventh-day Adventist? How did you become an Adventist, if not?
Sure. So, my name is Luke Johnson, and I'm from India. So, I was born in India, and I was always in India. Then, I studied in India, and then I started working there. I was not working with Maranatha. I was working with different sales and marketing companies, like the cell phone companies, and then I worked for the insurance companies. So I was into sales, and then later on I ended up joining Maranatha.
Wow. And where did you first start working for Maranatha?
Okay, so that was in southern part of India. I was working before working for Maranatha, I was working for an insurance company, and there it was getting little hard for me because I was not able to get time for myself. The workload and the pressure was really too much, and I was not even getting time to go to the church. I was a Presbyterian. My church was a Presbyterian church, and I was not even getting time to visit my parents. I was staying like 70 kilometers from my house, and that's where sometimes it was like 3 to 4 months, and I never get time to come back home, visit my parents, go to the church, or nothing like that. I really had a very bad infection in my stomach, and I just thought like I should take a break. And I took a break for like 6 months, and then I came to know that Maranatha is working all over India in different parts. And I thought like I should connect somehow, and I should see like how, if they have something where I can join and I can help them. Earlier the main reason was because I love to take photos, and I wanted to travel to different places. And what I heard about Maranatha was like, okay, Maranatha is an organization traveling from one place to another in interior parts, and they build churches, and they build schools, they provide education, and that was all I knew. And that was also through my brother-in-law Vinish. So
Vinish Wilson's our country director in India. So that's how I came to know that like what Maranatha is doing and stuff. So yeah. And over the course of working with Maranatha, is that when you became Seventh-day Adventist?
Yes. So I've been working with Maranatha from past 13 years. Now it's the 14th year. And it's a long time. So we were like, Maranatha decided that they want to build some churches and schools in São Tomé and Príncipe, and that was like the structure was the one what we do in India. So
and explain where that is and what São Tomé and Príncipe is, because I believe it's the smallest or second smallest country in Africa, right?
It is the second smallest country in Africa. So once upon a time I was like sitting working with my team, and I got a call from our country director, Mr. Vinish, and he asked me, okay, so now what we are doing some churches and the school, same design what we do in India, and we are shipping all the material from India. Would you like to be a part of that team? And I was like, okay. The moment he told me that, I was excited, but then I started looking around and talking to my friends, and asking them like, do you know where is it, and
What is this place?
what is it, and how are the people? Because when you hear about Africa, like everybody is kind of little spectacle, like, oh, should you go, or what is it going to be, So I was just wondering about that, and few of my friends, they said like, oh, that's really far, and they don't speak English, they don't speak Hindi. It's a Portuguese speaking country, and you have very limited resources, as in like groceries and stuff. It is very difficult to get what we eat.
And yeah, that's true. It's the things that you're familiar with.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I was going to say these are islands, right?
Exactly.
There's 2 islands.
Yes,
And it's
São
off the
Tomé
coast
and
of West Africa, approximately, or is it further north? I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's on the western
yes,
coast, off the western coast. Anyway,
yes.
so
Yeah. So so people were telling me about if something goes wrong, they don't even have hospitals there, and that
and at
was
this point, were you married?
yes.
You were. So what was your wife thinking about this?
So I told my wife, like earlier, I told her like there is a small country. They want us to go there and build some churches and some schools, and she was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm like, she was okay with that. And then we both started, looking for what is it going to be like, and we found there is only one government hospital, and which is not well equipped, and we have a small child, like Asher was 2 years old, and we were just wondering like what is it? Why do we have to go? It was a question. And then my wife, she's always like, she encourages me all the time, and she's like, okay, no, see, since we are into this mission field, let's just go. We don't know what God has planned for us, and we just packed our stuff and we said like, let's go, and we were in São Tomé.
So when you left, you weren't necessarily super confident that everything was going to be okay. There was a certain amount of faith,
Yes,
trust in God. I mean, just hope,
that's
hoping everything
that's
was going to
true.
turn out okay.
That's true. See, I'm like, for me, I like to travel. My wife, my family, they like to travel with me, and we were like, we have been working with Maranatha. We know Maranatha very well. That yes, they have our back. There is like, if there is something wrong, why will somebody put you in a situation where they know that this is not something for the team or for anyone? So we were confident later on. Then but then we were not sure why we are going. The only reason why I went there was like, okay, the buildings are similar to India, what we do, the school structure is similar, and I know it very well. I've been doing it since beginning, so I can help these people in São Tomé. So that was the thing which we took, like that was the reason why we went there. But the story was entirely different.
Well, when you went there, you had some experience leading a team, right? You were a construction supervisor
yes.
in India.
Yes.
So you had experience in leading a team for construction. How is it different, not only leading one team, but trying to build many churches in one country as the country director? What was the difference? Was it more challenging, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Okay. Yes. So what we were doing in India, you get a certain region, and then you see like, okay, we need to do some churches here in this area, and then being a supervisor, you will be given a church so that you can take care of the construction and everything properly, like everything is going how it is designed to be. But when I went to São Tomé and Príncipe, it was kind of a bigger responsibility, and I was happy at the same time, and I was a little nervous at the same time, that going to a different country, different culture, you don't know their language, and then you need to find people and you need to teach them how to do that. That was quite challenging.
Maybe this isn't necessarily something that you found in São Tomé, but does your sales background come into play and help you in any way as far as recruiting new crew members to work on our projects, selling the idea of working with Maranatha, or is there no connection at all?
At times, yes. I mean, like whatever you learn in your past, it is always helpful, and it always benefits you in a way or other. So I was just trying to, first thing I was trying to find a tongue for myself, a translator for myself. So then I got a guy who was from a Seventh-day Adventist Church, and he was translating it. He was speaking English, and then he was translating for me like what I want. And God helped me finding good guys there. They helped us doing all the churches and the school building there. Then I also had some help from India, like from my Indian team. I got some guys, and we all worked together, and that's how it was done.
Wow. So what was it like when you arrived and your family is there? What is it like to live in São Tomé?
Okay, so India, everybody knows it is quite populated, and it is overpopulated. But when we went to that small island, it is just 100 kilometers stretch, and maybe 100 this side, and that's it. And maybe 100,000 people there. I'm not very sure about the numbers.
That's okay. But
so
quite a few less.
Yes.
Than
Yes.
India. Yeah.
It was very less, and then in the beginning it was little difficult to adjust there, because especially ladies or anyone, they want to talk to their neighbors and want to get to know each other, but that you can't talk to people, because if you try and talk to them, they'll smile and then you smile, and you are not able to understand what they want and what you want to try and tell. So luckily, when we went to São Tomé, I met Pastor Fernando Melo, and he was the president there, and he found a house inside his yard. So we were right next to his house, and then there were so many missionary students. They were coming from Brazil. So it was a really good time, because we always try and talk to each other and try to learn how they talk and what they mean, and most of the time it was like translators, like communication was like that. But it was really nice. And Pastor Melo Fernando, he was really a good help for us there, because he was speaking a little bit of English and Portuguese, but then we were able to communicate.
So when you first arrive into a new country that Maranatha has not been working in, a lot of volunteers, they show up on a mission trip, and we have all this infrastructure. We have support staff for the volunteers. We have construction folks. Sometimes we have an office of people that help to make Maranatha run in that country. So you're just getting your bearings in São Tomé. You have a place to live. You're kind of trying to get to know people and get to know the language. You have a translator. What are the next steps that you take as a new country director in a country that Maranatha hasn't been working in? What are you trying to establish after that once you land there?
Yeah. So when we go, like when I go, especially to any new country where Maranatha is starting a project, or if they are working there, I just go and talk to the church leadership, and I try and find out the needs, the true needs, where they need the buildings, the churches, school buildings, the actual true need, Then we go and visit the sites, and myself, I was trying to talk to the people, community people, where do they go for worship, and most of the places, they were not having infrastructure. They don't have a proper structure. They were worshiping under like a shed in somebody's house and stuff, places like these. And I saw that there was a true need of the buildings. There are people, those who really want to go and learn about God, and they are getting distracted because of, in São Tomé, the weather is also not very good. You get rain any time of the day, and so the worships were disturbed because of that. And it was not a proper place to worship, and they were really in need of the buildings. And that's how we went to each place, and we saw that, these people, they really need the buildings. They have a big membership, and they should have a better place to worship.
What were some of your biggest challenges as you were trying to accomplish that goal of building those churches?
Well, if I talk about the biggest challenge, the first one was the language. Even if you have a translator, you can't carry him or take him all the time with you wherever you go. And especially, it is sometimes you are going early in the morning and you meet some people, you want to interact with them and want to know more about them. And you find like, okay, no, you don't have somebody who can translate for you, and you cannot communicate with them.
It's a helpless feeling. You're just kind of sitting there and you want to reach out, but
yes,
not
I
much
mean,
you
like
can say.
it was kind of little helpless. I was helpless
Yeah.
few times,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Were there any scary moments for you or your family living in São Tomé? Was there anything that happened that was particularly dramatic or?
Yeah, so there was a time like every day we used to work. I used to come back home and I used to play with my son. He was 2 years old, Asher, and we were playing. And I just pulled him. I just grabbed him from his hand, and I don't know how I pulled him up, and his shoulder got dislocated. And he was non-stop crying in pain, and we were really like scared, like where to go, because we saw the hospital situation and we were not even sure that anybody knows that if this shoulder is dislocated or broken or what is it. I asked a pastor, like our neighboring pastor. He was from Brazil. I asked his help. I said, please, can you take us to the hospital, because he was able to speak a little English and I wanted him to translate for me like what has happened. So we rushed to the hospital, my wife, me and my son, and we went to the hospital around 6 o'clock in the evening. And we were waiting in the car till 12 at midnight. And the moment our number came, the doctor said, oh, there is no electricity now. But luckily, he took his x-ray in the beginning, like around 9 o'clock, just to see what has happened. And he said it is not a fracture. I was praying to God, and I was trying to call people in the office that, I need, please book my flight in the morning. I need to take my son to Portugal or anywhere to a better hospital. That was really scary. And luckily, at 12, when the doctor see his x-ray, the pastor who went with me, he took a picture of that x-ray. And when they say like there is load shedding, there is no power, he showed him on the phone that this was the x-ray, you can just have a look. So that guy, he checked, and that guy was he was a doctor from Portugal. So he came on a visit. We were lucky that he was there, and he saw, okay, yeah, I know this got dislocated. He held him, his shoulder, and then he just fixed it like this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
we were lucky, and then, we thank God that, it was...
Oh, man, that's
it was really,
such a painful thing. I've never
yes.
had that, but I know people who have, and it just is excruciating pain that doesn't go away
yes.
until you get it popped
yes.
back in. So,
yes.
Oh, man. Well, that was one of the things you worried about, right? I mean,
yes.
What is the medical care going to be like?
Yes.
And so that doctor just happened to be visiting.
Yes.
Not a full-time resident doctor that lived there. Wow.
No. And he was teaching the other doctors, this is the case, and nobody there was aware about like something can happen like this, dislocation and stuff. So it was a good lesson for them that, yeah, this can be fixed.
Something else you might see. Oh my goodness. Well, what would you say when you think about the people of São Tomé that stuck with you during your time there? What are they like, and what is the culture like? What is the Adventist Church like as far as the membership there?
Well, Seventh-day Adventist Church is growing in São Tomé, and they have a lot of members and good members, and they follow what they learn in the church. And I have I had a team of 5 or 6 guys, and they were like from the church, and they were really helpful. So I feel good that, when Maranatha left from there, they have a set of skills which they can make their living with. Yeah.
So you finish your 3 years in São Tomé, and then what happens? What's the next thing that happens?
So yes, after completing the project in São Tomé, we went back to India.
And how many churches did we build? Do you remember?
We did 8 churches.
8 churches, okay.
Yes, 8 churches and 1 school.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so you went back to India, and you were again supervising construction around India in different places?
Yes, I was the project manager. We were trying to, do some churches in the area, Manipur, in northeast part of India. So we were doing some churches and doing some boreholes.
What's it like working in Manipur? I just got to go there a couple of years ago. It's not easy getting around in Manipur.
Yes, working in Manipur is not really easy, and I did an EEC building in Manipur, and I have done a couple of churches there. So I have stayed like more than a year, and it was not easy. So you always have that fear of, something can happen, but then you also have that faith that God is with you and you're doing his work.
You mentioned an EEC building. For people that don't know, in India we call it an elementary education center. It's a huge building that could be 10, 12, 14 classrooms in them with a central auditorium in the middle, and so that was a big project. And you're about to embark on another one here in Zambia that we'll get to. We'll get to that soon. And so how long were you working in India before you got the next opportunity to come to Zambia here?
I don't really remember exactly, but it was maybe I was there for a year.
Not that long.
Yes, not that long. So I was told that there are talks that Kyle want me to come and help here in Zambia, and but I was not sure when. So I was working in India.
Kyle Feast is our vice president of projects. Was your second child born in India?
No.
So you and your wife and your son, you get the call to come to Zambia.
Right.
What were you thinking? This is more mainland Africa, kind of what you maybe had in your mind. What were some of the concerns that you had about, coming to Zambia and bringing your family?
Yes. So when we came to know that yes, we are coming to Zambia, the main thing was like in African countries you hear about like a lot of diseases like malaria and other different things which can possibly happen, and the medical care it is not the way like up to the mark where you have that confidence that that everything is gonna be all right kind of stuff. I was little worried, but then by the time like when we did the project in São Tomé, I was pretty comfortable.
You felt like if you could overcome São Tomé, you could live anywhere, huh?
Yes, kind of. I forgot to talk about São Tomé more.
Sure, go ahead.
So yes, I told like Pastor Mello, he was the president, and he was the one who was helping us in a way, telling us and guiding us and showing us the need and taking us around. And so every day when I used to come back from my work, we used to sit with him, we used to talk to him, and he used to share a lot of things with us, and it was religious and like all different stuff what we can communicate, it was like that. So that's the time when like me and my wife, we were visiting Seventh-day Adventist Church every Sabbath, and when we see that okay they have a Sabbath school for the kids and they have lesson study for the adults, which is like you go to any part of the world and you can continue doing that, so we were like so much into like yes, we want to know more, what is it, want to know more. And we always used to discuss with Pastor Mello. Finally, like one day I decided like I want to take classes and I want to get baptized, and that is how me and my wife, we started taking classes from Pastor Mello. Wow. And he was the one who gave us classes, and he told us the entire thing, what is it, and finally we got baptized in the sea.
Wow. It's amazing when a person can have such a great influence on someone else.
Yes.
It takes effort for that person to invest time into other people, but it can make a big change in their life.
And since English was his second language, it was difficult for him to study before, like translate things in English and then to teach everything, tell me like what is it in English.
Yeah.
So
he put some extra effort in.
A lot of extra effort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow. So you get baptized, you go back to India, then you get the call to come over to Zambia here, and you've been here for 3 years, right? 3 years. What has it been like living in Africa here? I mean, you lived in Africa before in São Tomé, but it's a different place. So what has it been like being in Zambia?
It is, like, Zambia is a beautiful country, and people are really good, and they are very friendly, and like, so far we had a wonderful time here. We are having a great time here, and there is a lot of need in the country, and that is what we are trying to help with.
What are some of those needs in general throughout the country?
Okay, so in Zambia, if you talk about needs, people, they need everything. Let's start with the basics. They need water. Water is the most needed thing in Africa, in Zambia. Here I have seen churches, I have seen small villages, walking 7 kilometers just to get water. I have recently visited a church, that's a Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I asked them, like, it's kind of on a little hilly area, and it's the soil is quite hard. It is very difficult for people to dig a hand-dug well, and the nearest source of water was 6 to 7 kilometers far. They use bull carts to load all the cans and their drums and stuff, and they go in the morning, they get water, they bring it back. And they do not have resources where they can hire a drilling rig or get water or anything. So we saw that. Like, we have seen quite a lot of these kind of needs, and we are trying our level best to provide clean, healthy water to the communities, those who don't have it. So we sent our drilling rig, and as far as I know, this is the first well in 2023 which we drilled 80 meters deep. There was no water on 50 meters. We asked the drillers to go 10 meters more, no water, 10 meters more, because I really, personally, I wanted those people to have that water there, and finally they found water somewhere on 60 meters, and then we drilled up to 80 meters so that they get in a field, and they have water now.
Has there ever been a situation where you were working with a congregation in communication with them, and then we didn't end up hitting water there, or do we always find water usually?
No, there are places like we try but there are places where we don't hit water. We try again just to make sure if maybe on the other side if we can get something, but there are places where we have some dry wells.
I know there's sometimes some church sites that we go to and we meet with the pastor or elder, and in the end it's a place where we're not able to build, or there's other higher priorities that the church has for us, or for whatever reason we end up not building there. How hard is it to deal with? I assume when you're communicating with people, you kind of build a relationship with them, an affinity for them. How hard is it when we don't hit water or we can't build the church for them? How disappointing is that?
It is really disappointing. And sometimes if you are there at the moment at the site, and you see that the drilling is failed and you don't have water, it is very difficult to face the villagers, the people, those who were about to be benefited with that well. It is very difficult to face them, because you can see that sense of disappointment on their face, and where you're doing 300 wells and you see like 3 or 4 wells, these people did not get water. It is not their fault that, it is really disappointing. Like it's hard. But,
yeah.
But then we try that, next year if we have more wells coming in, we try again, on a different spot, maybe we do that. But then for the churches, if we are not able to do a church now, like, because we know the need is immense, and we are limited with like few churches, let's say like 120 churches for this year. We know if we get 500 churches, that won't be sufficient. People need churches everywhere. People need water everywhere. So, but then we cannot say yes to every need at the moment. We always tell them like, okay, we know that you need a church, and we are still here in the country, and we will come and visit you next year. So there is a hope.
Yeah. Well, that is good that we're able to say, hey, maybe not right now, but maybe in the future. What does providing clean water do besides the obvious? I mean, they don't have to walk for 7 kilometers or whatever, but how else does it change life for them on a daily basis?
It does. I mean, like,
Luke and I, we've been driving around this week, and he says, like really fast, and I was like, what did you just say? So if you were listening, I think he may have said it a couple times earlier, but yes. I get it.
It changes life. The time you invest in walking from your house to the well or to a hand-dug well, that time can be invested, getting an education for the kids. They can walk to the school, they can do other chores, and it is helpful for them.
Speaking of that drive across Zambia that we were making here, we started off in the central part of Zambia near the capital city of Lusaka, and we visited a school called Sala. And why don't you just tell people about that school, what the need is there, and what Maranatha is doing?
Okay. So first time I got a call from the president. He's at Lusaka conference, and he called me and he said, like, Mr. Luke, please, if you can come and have a look at one of our school. It's a conference-run school. It is run by a conference, and if you can just have a look. So I was talking with the country director, Mr. David, and I asked him, like, I'm getting requests every now and then that please come and visit the school and just have a look. So he asked me, like, okay, yeah, you can just go ahead and see, like, what is it going to be like. I went and I visited, and I came to know the history of the school, that how this school was started by missionaries and then went back to the government and the other churches, and then now recently came back to the Seventh-day Adventist Church back again. The moment I visited the school, I went inside the classrooms. My immediate reaction was, they really need classrooms. They really need infrastructure. The kids sitting on the floor, overcrowded. I was not able to find, like, where the teacher is. There were so many kids in the room, and that's what I reported back in the office. They need some classrooms, and there is a need. There is not a need. There is a big need.
Man, my initial reaction, or not initial reaction, but as I was thinking about it later that night after the first day that we were there, I love basketball, and I went to basketball camps as a kid, and we would sit on the floor when the coaches would be talking to us, but it would only be for like 20 or 30 minutes. But I got so tired of sitting in that position, and it wasn't even that long, and these kids have to sit on the floor, and their backsides, I'm sure, must be getting sore and tired, and how can you concentrate?
Exactly.
And some kids are just standing up against the side of the classroom. There are some desks, but not that many in some of them.
Yes, there are girls, they are growing up, and they are conscious about their dresses. You can't sit wearing a skirt on a floor, getting up again and again. So they were concentrating on how to feel comfortable, sitting on the ground. And then there were kids we were talking to, and the priority for them was, like, please give us desks and benches so that we can sit and learn. It is difficult to concentrate on what the teacher is teaching, and then try to, at the same time, try to manage, like, how you can sit properly with your dresses, and everything is a challenge.
We should say the reason these classrooms are so full, that people have to sit on the ground, is that they're so full. There's 1,300 kids that go to this school, and there's only a dozen classrooms, and there's just not enough space. I mean, each classroom averages between 80 to 120, 130, up to 147.
147,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, that's just crazy. One teacher told me that he takes 15 minutes out of the 45-minute period just to do the roll call. And that takes, a third of the classroom period up right there. So they're doing their best, but definitely there's an opportunity for Maranatha to help. So what are we going to be doing?
Yes. So later on, when I passed this communication to the office, and we had a visit, Mr. David, Mr. Kyle, and Kenneth, they came and they saw that the school is really overcrowded. And then finally, initially now we are giving them a 4-classroom building, and we will take it from there. And we are also doing a toilet block, which is really needed. 1,300 kids and just 2 toilet facilities. And
Crazy.
I think so you have seen those.
Yeah.
Most of the kids were standing outside, and
At least
few
the boys.
yes.
They kind of went over to that area of the bathroom, but they didn't actually go inside to use it. Yeah. But you can see why, because there's just no space in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I sure hope we can do some more there at the school, but I know we're going to take it just one step at a time and provide those classrooms to begin with.
Yes.
One thing that is unique in Zambia is that the government provides what they call grant aid, where they they fund the teachers and the faculty and staff at these schools. So even though the Seventh-day Adventist Church is managing and gets to direct curriculum and what is taught, the government is providing the salaries for the teachers.
Yes.
And we were told that they have told the Sala School that they'll be able to provide 15 more teachers, which would be amazing. We just need some housing for them to send those teachers. So that hopefully maybe might be something in the future that we could look at. But yeah, we're just going to take it one step at a time on that. So after Sala, one other thing I was going to say is that because of the grant aid program that's been instituted in the last couple of years, right, by the new president, who's Seventh-day Adventist, by the way, in Zambia. They've made it free for all students to go to school. There's no school fees for these grant aid schools. And so they said that there's a lot of girls who either stopped going to school for one reason or another. Maybe they just stopped, or maybe some of them got pregnant or got married at a young age, and that they're coming back to school now. So that also contributes to the high number of students in one place. So definitely a great thing that they're able to come back to school. Not a great setting for them to learn it. Okay, so then we drove across the country and we visited another school yesterday called Mwami. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that school? It's got a long history in the area, and it's definitely been a place where the Adventist Church has kind of become a hub for influence in that region. There's a hospital, a school for nursing there as well, and 2 primary schools, but no secondary school. So what are we planning to do there?
Yes. So Mwami School. Yes, they have a primary section, and then they have a nursing, like a graduation.
Yeah, like at university.
Yeah, it's a university. So not a university, but then they don't have a secondary education. So what happens there is, people around, they send their kids to Mwami School, and they don't have enough schools in that area. In any direction, if you go, the schools are far, around 10 kilometers in any direction, you don't find a school. And then they have this Mwami School, which is giving a primary education, and they have quite a number of students, but they do not have a secondary school. And then after the secondary school, they have the nursing school. So there is a gap, and because of that gap, Maranatha has decided that we are going to build a big EEC building there. I think it's a 16 classroom or a 14 classroom.
Yeah, I think David Woods, who's our country director for Zambia, said it was 16.
16,
I think it's the biggest one that we do.
Yes. So we are doing a big EEC building with an auditorium, like a church hall in the center, and it is going to be really helpful for the students, for the primary students. Once they are done there, they can go to the secondary in that new EEC building, and then they can go to the nursing. So we are trying to build that gap which is in between.
We talked to some of the parents of those primary school students, and they have to send their kids away for 30, 40 kilometers and be able to, have to pay more school fees to not only get them there, but also to
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
then
Clay, would you make sure they could wait for 5 minutes? Oh, never mind. This might be our cue to finish this episode. We are at a work site here, and we have our mixers that got fired up again. We're about to get to it, but we're building a medical clinic here near the Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thank you. This is a field episode, so anything can happen. We've had chickens walking through here, cows. Someone said they killed a snake from this mango tree that we're under, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, yesterday there was one interesting thing that parent was talking about. She said, they are sending their kids to Moami school in the primary, and they are teaching, they are bringing them in a Seventh-day Adventist environment, and then they go to the church every Sabbath, and once they are gone, to any other school which is not a Seventh-day Adventist school, which we don't have here in the area. They stopped coming back
Yes.
to the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the age where they really need attention and closer relationship with God.
Yes.
So that was something, if we do that
Yeah.
building, like we are doing that building, so it is going to be helpful, in a number of ways.
They were very excited for it, and
Yes.
it's going to fill a huge need in that area. And we're recording this right now, October 2023. So depending on when you're listening to this, in 2024 there'll be volunteer
Yes.
opportunities to come serve. It'll be a really special project, I think, for people to come on.
Right.
Before we get kicked out of our interview spot here, I really quickly wanted to just talk about this place where we're at right now, Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have a volunteer group that we've been with the last few days that is doing a number of things, building a medical clinic here, doing VBS for all the children here, and also doing free health medical clinic out of the church. And talk a little bit about what we're doing with this medical clinic. We don't normally do medical clinics, so what is the need in this area that we're going to build a clinic here?
If you talk about the need, you can just walk a little bit towards the church and see the need. You can see there are more than 500 people standing there, and the doctors, the medical team is looking after maybe 200 to 300 patients every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, only that thing, with that thing you will yourself get the answer what is the need of this clinic. It is really needed. We don't have any clinic in this area. You walk for 7-8 kilometers any direction, you don't have any clinic here. So this is something which is really required here.
Yeah. I was talking with David Woods, our country director here, the other day. We were actually watching some kids play, and he leaned over to me and he said, statistically, some of these kids here aren't going to make it to adulthood. There's so many different things they have to overcome, whether it's malaria, just hunger, malnutrition, dysentery, whatever, you name it. There's so many things that prevent kids from making it to adulthood. And we're building, block walls right here, but we're actually really providing hope for them to be able to have a better chance of surviving all those
that is
maladies
absolutely
that
true.
come their way. So, well, Luke, we should let them get back to work. So thank you so much for all that you do in Zambia. Really appreciate you as a person and your lovely family, and thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your journey with us on Inside Missions.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.